How's everyone doing? This is Rubik's VTX. I had a request by some of you. I had put out there that if you guys wanted me to put a video up on how to clay bar, I would. I do this every year, twice a year actually, to my car. This is the first year I'm actually doing it to the VTX. It's the same process that you would use for a car, so if you find that this helps you a lot, feel free and use it on your car at home as well to give it a nice shine. The reason why we clay bar is after you wash a car, there are still impurities in the paint. You can feel it if you put your hand over the paint. Even after it's washed, it will have some minor bumps, real slight bumps to it. Those are those impurities that are stuck within the clear coat, and this is why you want to clay bar before you wax and polish and things like that, because those will actually trap those impurities. Now, when you buy a clay bar kit, there's a couple different options. You can go with this is a turtle wax one. They call it the Ice series. You'll get the lubricant spray. You'll actually get a step 1, which is a car wash kit as well. It's really just car wash, and that's it. And then you get the clay bar. This is half a clay bar right now. You actually get it's much larger, but you don't need to use the entire bar. I usually use about half a bar for my car, and you could probably get away with about using a third of it for an entire motorcycle. So this clay is, well, really just clay, and you use it with the lubricant to lift those areas up. So the first step is wash the bike. Get as much as you can and all the grime and everything off of it. I went and already washed this. You can see it's pretty shiny. Went and washed it. I actually washed it yesterday as well. So, and before you go and you use either your polish or your Canuba wax, you want to use this clay bar. Alright, so step 1 is using the lubricant spray, and you could use this or instant detailer spray. Either one will work. You just spray a good amount on the area. You don't want to use, or not use, you don't want to do too big of an area just because this stuff will dry. And I suggest probably, like when I was doing my car, I would do a door at a time, the hood, half of it at a time, things like that. With a bike, I'd probably do a side fender and then do the other side fender, do the rear, one side of the rear fender, the other side, gas tank in two parts, and then the front fender all in one. And it's pretty simple. So I have this sprayed quite a bit. More lube is better than less lube, and yes, I'm talking about clay barring. And you basically just want to get it really wet. Alright, if you don't have enough lube on there, what will actually happen is this clay bar will stick to the paint, and when you're pulling up impurities out of the paint, the worst thing you want to do is bring that across the paint, because it will just tear into the actual clear coat. Don't be scared though. Like I said, if you just spray, and you could spray as much as you want on this, alright, the more the better. Now, when you first put this on, you kind of want to flatten it kind of like a pancake. Just put it on there and start rubbing it. One thing you'll notice is when you start, there might be a tad bit of resistance, very slight. That's the actual impurities that are in that clear coat that you're pulling out. I like to start in the middle just because you're pushing the lubricant to the sides, which you'll then get to later. And the goal of this is to rub it until it has a glass-like finish. You'll notice that when you're clay barring, it'll be really easy for this to move while you're using it, and that's kind of a good sign that that area is done. The other thing you could do is just take your finger, slide it across, and you'll automatically right away feel a huge difference between the bike not being clay barred and then being clay barred. So you just want to do this. You'll feel as you're rubbing in a specific area. If it's a worse area, it'll take a little bit more, but it will come out. And make sure you get the entire paint. Right now, obviously, I'm recording and doing this at the same time, so I'm not putting as much pressure on there. You don't want to put a ton of pressure on it, but I'm just kind of gliding over just to show you. And what I would also suggest is, after you're done with a specific area, like let's say I'm finished up with this fender and I want to move on to the next fender or the rear fender, whatever it may be, take this clay bar, ball it up, and then you're going to want to flatten it out like a pancake. And that's just going to get any of those impurities that you got caught on here. It's going to get it in the middle of that bar, so it's like you have a brand new piece of clay. And after you're done with that, you just dry it off with a soft towel. I try and use a very soft towel, or I use the microfiber towels just to clean it off. And as soon as you're done with that, you'll notice a really nice gloss to it. You can see just from this camera, this area right here is dry. It almost has a wet-like appearance, if you will. This is without wax. So you put some wax on there, it's going to make it pop even more. And with the wax, I always suggest a carnauba wax. I prefer the liquid over the hard stuff just because it's a little bit easier to apply. And I love this Mother's carnauba wax, and I was happy when I got a free sample of it, just because, I mean, you can never have too much wax. So, and another thing with waxing after, I always suggest that you wax the paint after you are done with the clay bar, because you just got all those impurities out. You feel that nice gloss finish, or glass-like finish. And what's going to happen is, if you don't put that wax over it, the paint is still exposed. So as you ride, you're going to get those things on there again, and then the whole process is going to start over. What you can do though is, after you're done clay barring, wax it just like you would wax a car, and that's going to make it so that those impurities are not able to get into that clear coat. It's going to put that protective layer on there, and all you really have to do then is, keep up with the waxing. I suggest, I try and wash my bike once every week and a half. I tend to wax about once every 2 months, and that's just to kind of keep up the wax and make it so that nothing's able to penetrate, or try and stop as much from penetrating. And I also try and use the clay bar treatment at least once a year, usually in the beginning, or always at the beginning of the season. Sometimes, as long as it doesn't get too cold in Chicago too quickly, I try and get out there and clay bar right before I'm about to put it away as well, just because it's going to get those impurities out before it goes and sits for a few months. Now, if you live in an area that's warm, you don't need to worry about that. Unfortunately, I live in Chicago, and if you've ever been to Chicago, it could snow next week here, and it's June. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope this helps some of you. I know some of you were a little skittish about using the clay bar, because this really is clay. It will stick. Just make sure you use a lot of the lubricant. If you feel that while you're moving this bar across it that it's starting to stick a little bit, that means that it doesn't have that lubrication under it, and you want to make sure that you take this off, respray it, and then do it again. The other thing I would suggest is, when you have a lot of lubricant, this sometimes is very slippery. So just make sure you have a good grasp on it, because if this drops on the ground, right, then you have to throw it out. It's picked up too much crap, and you really don't want to rub a paint job with stuff that just came off the ground. So if you do drop this on the ground, you can't go and knead it up and then use it again. You'll have to throw it out. I really think that's why they give you the bigger bar, just because you're not going to use one bar for an entire car. So that's probably just in case you drop one. If you don't drop it, then after you are done, if this was the other half that I didn't use, make sure you seal it up. I put it in a Ziploc bag, and then I fold it up a bunch of times, just because if it's kept out, then it will dry up. So I usually zip tie it, or not zip tie, I'll seal it, then I'll twist it off, and just try and get it so there's not any air in there. So once again, this is Rubik's VTX, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If there's any other questions you have about this, please feel free to PM me, and I'll try and get back to you as soon as I can. Alright, have a great day.